What is up, guys? Chris here, Bear Market Mining. Thanks again for stopping by. So today I'm going to be showing you how to build a GPU mining rig on a budget you can use in 2025. So I'm going to be listing out all the parts, all the prices, how to build the rig, how to set up flight sheets, everything you need to know to get started crypto mining ready for 2025. So let's get straight into that. But before we do me a solid, hit that like button, consider subscribing, and we'll move straight into the video. All right, so first up, let's check out the parts. So we have to start at the beginning, of course, with our motherboard. This is the BioStar TB250 BTC Pro. This is a mining dedicated motherboard, so it will have all the settings already set for you and really easy way to start. We're just on eBay here, and I wanted to show you some prices of how you can pick these things up. This is a combo motherboard. This has come with a CPU, RAM, and a cooler, all combined for 60 bucks for the lot. So really, really good price. And if you're just starting out, I suggest this is what you should look for. If you can find them, go into the previously sold items on eBay, get an idea of prices, and then start searching around. So this is the motherboard to start. This particular motherboard comes with a G3 900. It's an Intel Celeron CPU. Now this is a low-end CPU. You really don't need to be spending money on CPUs for GPU mining. Save that for the CPU mining, right? Obviously. So this is going to get the job done. It's going to be powerful enough to run HiveOS, our mining software, which is just what we need. It also comes with a stock cooler, as you can see. As we're not using the CPU, as we mentioned before, you don't need a high power or high speed fan, so a stock cooler will get the job done, and they're super cheap secondhand. For this particular build, I've decided to use some spare Kingston HyperX Fury, just an 8GB stick. I already had this lying around, so you know, in the spirit of budget, we've decided to use some spare parts to keep the costs as low as possible. This is plenty for what we need. Again, don't be spending money on, you know, high performance RAM for a GPU mining build. It's simply not necessary. We're going to need some storage, of course, to flash HiveOS onto. This is just a cheapie, a silicon power 128GB SSD. Always go an SSD over a flash drive. It's that much faster. Updating HiveOS and miners is going to be that much quicker. I also had this one lying around, but just so you can get an idea of price, 10 bucks secondhand. You can probably find them even cheaper if you wanted to. The power supply I'm using for this build is a Seasonic 1300 watt modular power supply. Now, these are great for this particular build. They have a number of PCIe slots. As we're only building a smaller rig, we won't need to join two PSUs together. So this will be perfect. Can pick them up secondhand for 60 bucks. Super cheap, really good quality, and plenty of power for what we need today. The graphics cards I'll be using today, it's a Gainwood Ghost 3060 Ti. These are a sort of lower end budget 3060 Ti, so you're not getting, you know, all the fancy RGB, but they work all the same for mining. Now I'll be putting 4 in this build today, but the way I'm going to show you how to build this, you can put anywhere from 1 to 12, depending on how many slots your motherboard has. So regardless of how many cards you put in, this build will show you exactly what to do. So you can pick these up secondhand, anywhere from 200 to 250 bucks USD. You've just got to look around, or if you buy in bulk, can definitely get them cheaper. So all up, this build will be about $1,000 USD. Somewhere between 900 to 1,000. So depending on your version of budget, you know, take that with a grain of salt. If you put 1 card in, you might be looking at 350, 2 cards, 550, and so on and so forth. The last part we'll need, of course, are some fans to blow some cool air across the rig. So I've got these as 120mm RGB fans. RGB for a bit of fun. You can pick these up super cheap secondhand on eBay, but I thought I'd show you exactly which ones I'm using. So that is what we'll use to cool the whole rig. Really effective as well, and super quiet. All right, first step, let's get this motherboard fixed to these mounts down here. So we'll just sit that on, simply line up these holes and then screw those home. Next up, let's get this RAM installed. Now you'll notice there's a longer sleeve and a shorter sleeve, so make sure that lines up on the board exactly where that needs to go. It'll feel like a nice smooth click, so if it feels forced, then do not do it. Just like that. Next up, I like to get my power supply installed. Now you'll see I've populated all my slots, my PCIe slots, my SATA slots, and my CPU pin slots. This is just to make it easier. You're not messing around at the front. So I simply slide this in the front here. And there will be a screw hole at the back right here to secure this power supply. Just like so. Next up, we install our SSD. Once again, I like to get this installed quick just so that there's more room and I'm not trying to mess around underneath graphics cards. So this has a header right here, which will slot straight into the front. One, then we'll take our SATA power from the other end and we will plug that in, and then that's done. And we just tuck it out of the way for now. Moving on, let's get our power in, our 24 pin into our motherboard, just underneath here. Once again, you'll hear a nice click, and then we need our 8-pin ATX power over on the other side. Tuck that underneath. Done. Okay, next up, let's install these fans along the back. Now, you can install them this way, they fit right under this sleeve, but personally, I like to fit them from the back. It just gives me a little more room to play with at the front, and things aren't quite as tight trying to squeeze them all in. Now we need to plug all of our fans in. So this is a PWM fan hub. So we have this one end here, this header. It will go into the system fan right here, like so. It will also need power. We will take that from our extended SATA cable that we were using before. We will plug that in. Down to the bottom here, we'll pull this back. And then all of these headers will simply slot in like so. Okay, fans are connected. The last thing before we start putting our graphics cards on, we'll use this jumper cable right here. This just replaces the power button on your PC, and there's a little power slot right down here. Refer to your motherboard manual for exactly where to put that, or ask me in the comments and I can help you out. Done. Okay, next up we'll put our risers and adapters in. This end is going into the motherboard just like so, and then we need to take our PCIe 8-pin splitter, which is right here, and that will plug right into the back to give that power. The other end will go into the graphics card, but just so you can see how it all works, first we'll put this arm on that is going to support our GPUs, and then we'll get all of this plugged in and wired up. Okay, so now that that arm is in, cable management is always the funnest part of this. I like to loop mine out the front and come back just to give me a little bit more room. 6-pin will go in the back. Graphics card will slot on like so. Sit right there. Now this existing 8-pin will go into the top slot to power the graphics card. We'll screw that down and then rinse and repeat. Done. Everything powered up nicely. Next thing we're going to need to do is power this thing on. And now the moment of truth. And that is how you build a GPU mining rig. So next up, let's talk about flashing HiveOS, overclocks, all that sort of stuff. All right, so we have that rig built. You know, you've chosen whether you want 1 card, 4 cards, 8 cards, 12 cards. The rig is built. Now we need to install some software. So we're going to be using HiveOS. Now, this is the program that's going to allow us to actually do the mining. So let me show you right now how to flash HiveOS onto that SSD. The first step will be to go to hiveon.com, and I will, like I said, leave all the links for this in the beginning. You're going to need to create an account by clicking log in, which will be right over here. Enter your email in, log into your account, and you will end up on an empty farm. Now, as you can see, I've already got a couple of farms in here, but you won't have any. So the very first step will be click this plus button, click add farm, whatever you want to call it, farm, and click save. Once you've saved that farm, you'll be able to click it right here like we have. You'll click this button and then it will take you into your farm where you can see your workers, but you won't have any workers yet. So we need to add those. How do we do that? We click this plus button up the top right and we click add worker. We're going to add a rig, a GPU or CPU rig. Click that button. And this very first option, connect your rig fast and easily. Simple, we like simple. Install HiveOS onto your rig drive. So now that we've clicked that, our operating system HiveOS is a Linux-based system. We'll click Linux and it will ask us to download the latest version of HiveOS. Click download. That will begin, and then we've got the ability to go to the next step, which is of course download Balena Etcher. Once you've downloaded Balena Etcher, you will open it up and it will look a little something like this. So this is just a flashing utility. So what this is going to do is take that downloaded version and flash it onto the SSD or the M.2, whatever you selected, and that is what's going to plug into your rig and boot up HiveOS. Our next step will be to flash that downloaded version from the file. So you'll click flash file, you'll find it right here, you'll open it up and it will ask you to select a target, which will be the SSD or M.2 that you are using in this rig, and it will flash away and start that process. Then look, after a few minutes, that process will be done. So we will need the rig config. So this is what's gonna start up the HiveOS for us. You'll download that. Once Balena Etcher is finished flashing, you will drag that downloaded rig config into your flash drive and you are away. That's all you need to do. It says here connect rig, so you'll connect that bootable drive back into your GPU or CPU mining rig and turn it on, and it will appear in here as we can see. Now, there is a chance with some of these downloads that it won't do a headless migration and you may not see it appear in your farm straight away. So what you'll need to do in that instance, plug in a monitor, go into your rig config file, because in the mining rig, it will ask you for your rig ID and password, which you will find in that rig config, and you may just need to enter that in to start. Once that's in, your rig will appear, and then we can start talking about how to get this thing mining and set up a flight sheet. The last step we will need to do now is we'll need to create a wallet and a flight sheet. So we will click on wallets right here. We'll wait till it loads up. We'll click add wallet. You will select your coin, whatever that may be. Let's use a coin called Pyron right now, for example. You'd enter your wallet address in, whatever those numbers are, and you'd click create. So this wallet has been saved and added now, and now we want to compile the flight sheet. So we'd click on flight sheet right here. Once again, wait till it loads up. You would add your coin. Let's click any coin. Pyron is what we're using for this example. Now remember, yours will be different depending on what your coin and wallet address you're using. So make sure you've got that wallet deposit address matching up with the coin, as you can see on that exchange. Click that wallet that you've just added and select a pool. Now, a lot of the time the pools will be added in here. So for this sake, we'll click on NiceHash, select our pool, we'll select our miner, whichever miner you want to use, and go into setup miner config. Now, this will, well, a lot of it will be auto-filled for you. You can simply click on this I to add a password or the worker name. I just use X for a password. Now, if your pool is not listed in that list before, you would get that pool from the website listed on miningpoolstats.stream and enter it in right here. We won't add any config arguments in here for the time being. I'll show you how to do that in a little bit more of a basic way. Make sure your version is the latest, apply changes, give it a name, and create that flight sheet. Now we're going to need some overclocks because we want to run this mining rig efficiently. So if we go back into workers right here, we click on our rig, we can see this right button here. We've got a list of overclocks to set in. These are all set to 0 right now. So to get a good baseline of overclocks, let's go back to hashrate.no. Let's click on GPUs over here on the left. We will search for our 3070 or whatever coin you're using. Click on 3070. We would search the coin, Pyron. It's down here somewhere, right here. And we can see our overclocks right there. So how this would work, for example, it says your core clock offset is 200 and your core clock lock is 1470. You would simply enter these numbers in here. Whoops, 1470. Enter your memory clock in, which is 810. That's a locked memory clock. And a power limit set at whatever you like. Now this has 170, it won't use 170 watts. I like to set it a little bit lower. Click that, click save down the bottom. Flight sheet has been made, overclocks have been set. The last thing we'll do is go into flight sheets right here and click this little rocket button, and it will be applied and will be away and mining. All right, so we've built it, we've set up HiveOS and a flight sheet. You're obviously going to need a coin to mine. we're over here on hashrate.no. I will leave the link in the description. This is a great resource for figuring out your ROI and your daily profitability. We can see here we've got our number of GPUs, our 3060 Ti, and our price. It's telling us right now that Zano is about a 997 day ROI. These numbers are a little off, should be a little bit quicker than that, but a really good resource for you to figure out how long it will take you to pay this back if that's what you're looking to do. Obviously, people always like to pay stuff back, but if you're looking for a bit of fun and just want to build a one card rig, you can use this resource for the exact same thing. That is going to wrap it up, guys. Hopefully you gained a bit of knowledge from that video. Hopefully it was clear enough for you, everything laid out so you can get started straight away with anywhere from 1 to 12 cards on this particular build video. If you have any questions at all, leave them in the comments or consider joining the Discord. We have a channel in there called New Miners for anyone who has questions. The link for that is in the description. Make sure you like and subscribe for me, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.